Good. That's how we know that we are live. Good grief. That was a little bit awkward. Welcome to Unstoppable Entrepreneur Live. It is season 2, episode number 8. Today, what I really wanted to share with you guys, now that we've got our little kicking on the tripod out of the way, I wanted to talk to you guys specifically about marketing. Now, we have, and advertising actually, we've spoken a lot over the last few weeks and obviously over the last season as well, a lot about the different things around psychology to do with getting yourself out there, overcoming fear, making the decision to just kind of leap and all of that kind of stuff. And today, what I wanted to share with you is like, how do we actually take all of this kind of information and apply it practically in order to be able to get a result? So I've got some notes here that I'm going to be referring to and stuff like that. So if you've got questions as we're going through, please make sure you type them in, let me know. Or if you're listening to the recording, of course, just type those in there and I'll make sure that I go ahead and answer them for you. So some of the big questions that I get are, how do I write my ads so that they work and so that they stand out and so that they look different and appeal to the people that I want to attract? So you can go back through a lot of the other videos and where I talk about niche and your point of difference and your message and all of that type of stuff. So you can go back and have a look at that. I'm not going to harp on about that today. What I wanted to share with you though was an easy, I think, a simple formula that you can utilize when you're writing your ads. Now, the first thing that I need you guys to do, and this is what most people go, right, I've got to go put some ads out, Nicola, like how do I write them? It's like, whoa, hang on a second. Let's just rewind and build a little bit of infrastructure almost before we get to actually putting your ads out there and things like that. So I want us to just rewind for a moment. Now, you know who your niche is, who your avatar is, your ideal client avatar, your ideal customer, your ideal perfect client, whatever language you want to use around that. Before you get into ad copy writing, what I would really very, very strongly encourage you to do is to make sure that you have got a story written out that really talks into who this person is. Like, for example, if you're a woman who is, if you're a business owner who's really worried about putting herself out there, if you know that you need to start using online marketing but you're not quite sure how, if you're someone who is incredibly motivated, you're driven, but you don't want to spend the time researching everything within an inch of its life. So what you heard me reel off there is about 3 or 4 sentences that started out with if you're a woman who, or if you're a business owner that's looking for this, you want to get as many of those kinds of sentences written out, and ideally you want to do it into a Word document, and I call this your client transformation story. And you're going to just keep writing out, are you someone who is looking at this? Before you do this, right? Before you start writing any kind of ad copy, make sure that you've got this stuff down first. So what it starts to do is it starts to, this big long laundry list of many, many things that you can write up. It's going to really talk into your person's problems, their desires, their dreams, their challenges, and all of that type of thing. So the first part is getting all of that stuff drafted out. When you first start doing it, it will be, hey, Ains, when you first start doing it, you might just go, I don't really think that's relevant. Just write it anyway. Just keep writing out as many of those kinds of statements, questions, paragraphs for your person. Because what ends up happening is this. You'll end up with a Word document that is filled with lots of different paragraphs, lots of different sentences. And you can start to for those of you who have ever watched like NCIS or CSI or like those typical crime shows, where they've got like the glass thing and they can, like the glass computer, and they can like move the phrases, you know, to and fro, or like the magnets that you get on the fridges and you can move them around to where they fit. We can start doing that with this Word document. So there might be a really powerful paragraph, or there will be a really powerful paragraph in your client transformation story that will create and form the first part of your advertising text, right? So one of the ads I've got running at the moment is, before you spend any more time or money on Facebook ads, costly software, funnels, or anything like that, you must know these 5 things, the 5 keys to successfully marketing yourself online, something along those lines. So what I know is that so many people are just going, okay, great, I've got to go get some clients, let's go throw up an ad and see what happens. And then they waste a ton of money. Like they don't always get a return on investment. They don't always get a response. And the main reason for that is that they haven't done a lot of the drafting work that is required before they actually get out there and start advertising. So we need to draft out your client transformation story. So all of that we were talking about to start with is what gets done and gets written up in this document. The next thing that we need to know is, and you need to type out, what is it that they want, right? So if you really want is the way that we start that sentence, and then you've already got a list of all of their desires, right? Their goals, the things that they really, really want. So you'll start talking into what those are. If you're a woman who's really passionate and driven by creating $1 million a year business, if you want more freedom, if you want to feel clarity, if you just want to feel free, if you want to eradicate any kind of energetic blockages that are holding you back, if you want to be able to get your dream job, if you want to be able to find out what your purpose is and go and live that, right? So we're talking into lots of different, and we draft them all out. So there's lots of different goals, dreams, desires, things that your people want. So we want to write all those down, okay? So then what happens, we can start to chop and change your advertising writing, your advertising copy in lots of different kind of permutations. So you could have paragraph 1 that goes to paragraph number 9, and then you test that and it might not work. So you might swap it around and see if people are going to click on those being inverted. I hope that this is making sense. So once you've got this whole laundry list of all of this stuff written, so you've got there, if you are a business owner, like really kind of delving into their pain, and then we've got a whole list of, and you really want all of these things, then we can say what we want them to do. Because the reason for advertising, right? If you are paying Facebook to advertise something of yours, it's got to have a call to action, guys. It's got to have something where you are getting people onto your email list. It might be giving them a free guide, registering for a webinar, get this free download, access my free ebook, get the first chapter, get like whatever it is. We need to have a call to action in there. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to monetize your ads. It might be go over to that website and go and look at it. You can work out what that call to action is. But really what you're looking at is initially from an advertising copy perspective, the first part is getting all of these things written out. Okay, so the pain points, the sad stuff, the things that they're not happy with, then the things that they really want, and then what is it that you're going to give them? What is your call to action going to be? Then you can start to go over to Facebook and go, all right, now I've got this stuff. What paragraphs fit together, and how can I maybe mush them around a little bit to make sure that they flow and make sense? Now, that leads us into the next point around your advertising. So with your advertising, there are different things and different ways of writing that will resonate with different people. Some people are very much motivated by moving away from pain. So for example, if you touch a hot plate and you're like, wow, that's really hot, and you quickly move your hand away, right? That's moving, like that motivation is to move away from pain. some people, when they're reading your marketing copy, when they're reading your advertising, when they're watching your videos, they will be more motivated to do something if we are highlighting the pain points that they're experiencing. So if you're sick and tired of doing all the research and, painstakingly sifting, sorting, trying to work out who to trust, what to do, and who to turn to, that's talking about real pain points. If you're tired of not making enough money, if you're tired of waking up in the morning feeling fatigued and burned out, if you're not very good at managing your money, right? So that I'm thinking about different people, different clients that I've had that do different things. If you're tired of feeling overtired, undermotivated, and like you're dragging your backside out of bed every morning, they're very moving away from pain openers, okay? And we don't want to leave people in that sitting because it doesn't feel really nice to kind of like stick in the knife and then kind of like twist it around. So what we want to do then is say like, and you want, right? So we're going to move them then towards pleasure. So moving towards pleasure would be, oh, I want to be fit. I want to be able to wear a bikini confidently over summer. I want to make more money. I want more time. I want to create freedom. I want to be able to pay for my kids' education. I want a better mindset. I want to feel free. I want choice. All of those things are moving towards pleasure, right? So your people, and this is where I know it's really annoying, but when you're advertising, you need to test to see what people are more motivated to click on in order for you to be able to help them. So you need to be able to test a moving away from pain advertising centric copy, and you also need to test a moving towards pleasure advertising copy, right? And you just need to test and see what people are clicking on, what they're responding to, and things like that. My people, you guys, when I'm advertising, I get a much, much better response when I move people towards pleasure, right? If I go in saying, are you're tired of feeling stressed and overwhelmed and underwhelmed when it comes to your marketing, if you're afraid of putting yourself out there, people don't tend to, like, they will read it, they'll click on it, but they don't seem to then follow through, okay? So for you, you're going to need to test and see what your people more respond to and what their thing is. Does that make sense to you guys? Let me know. I'm going to assume that does. All right, excellent. So the next part about your advertising is in the targeting. Oh, great, excellent. The next part is in your targeting. Now, there are lots of different ways. When you log into Facebook and you go to create an ad, there are lots of different ways that you can target people. There's different ways of optimizing your ads and things like that. Now, even still, what I have found to this day, and I've been doing this primarily in the same way since 2010, the way that I've found for me that works the best is optimizing for traffic. So we want to optimize for as many people going through and looking at your ad as possible. And usually when you're going through the ad creation, I'm looking at link clicks. That's usually what I find tends to get the best kind of response. When it gets into the targeting, this is where you need to know your avatar really, really well. And there is going to be a little bit of, again, some testing and measuring to see what kind of targeting is going to work. So the one that tends to work for me is you can target men or women or men and women. It doesn't matter, like you might decide that you can work with people of any age. It really, oh, thanks, thanks Tamara. You want to be able to, work it ideally towards your ideal client, okay? Now, if their age range, if your ideal client is say 37 years old, you might target people from say 34 through to 45 years of age, okay? If that fits in your ideal kind of demographic. So that's from the ages and the gender type. If you're marketing into the US, if you're marketing into the UK, if you're marketing out through Europe and things like that, you probably also want to target the language being English if you're an English speaking person, If you speak English and Spanish or whatever, then you can specify in your ads the language that your people primarily speak. Okay, so that's that. Then what happens is we get down into the next layer of drilling down into your targeting. Now, I really, still to this day, I find that the interest targeting is still excellent. Okay, so interest targeting is where you will know who the industry influencers are in your industry. You're going to need to know from your avatar's perspective what magazines they're looking at, what TV shows they're following, who are they following on Facebook? Like, what are they doing? Are they following the Kardashians? Are they reading House and Garden? Are they following Gary Vaynerchuk? Are they watching Sandy Krakowski? Are they watching Desperate Housewives reruns? Are they watching Sex and the City? Are they looking at the Wiggles? What is it that they are spending time on clicking on in Facebook? What kind of articles are they looking at? What sort of pages are they following? Because you can start to add those things in there. So if you're a health coach, for example, you're going to probably want to target Sarah Wilson, I Quit Sugar, Chef Pete Evans, Thermomix, doTERRA, healthy living, quirky cooking. I can't think of anything, paleo, stuff like that, right? Because you know that if you're a health coach and you're looking for people who are already interested in a healthy way of life, you might also know that they go to a naturopath versus a doctor. So you would target naturopathy. You might target chiropractors and stuff like that. Okay, I hope that this is making sense to you guys. Now, in terms of all of that stuff, again, you are going to have to play with it a little bit, but that's the easiest way for you to be able to get started in getting your content in front of people who you think might be interested. Okay, when we've got your client transformation story, you've got some copy ready, we've gone into the Facebook Ads Manager and you start getting the bones of this done, okay? Then the other thing that I want you to be thinking about whilst you're testing is thinking about like the psychographics of people. What are they worried about at 2:00 in the morning? What are they doing? It's like it's about 11:15 thereabouts now on a Monday morning. Now I know for a lot of business owners, they are knee deep already into their like 4th or 5th coffee, ready to go and stuff like that. I know some people who follow me are kind of like, oh my God, I'm dragging my ass. It's Monday morning. I want this stuff to go. How do I get this stuff working? How do I get this stuff going and that type of stuff? So if you can understand their mental state and can understand some of their psychographics, it means that you can start to tailor the content and the way that you're going to capture and engage them on a daily basis. Awesome. It means that you're going to be able to have a very, very relevant conversation with people at this point in time. It was funny. This morning I dropped my kids off at school and I'm driving back home and like my car is freaking filthy. I need to take it through the car wash. So going to the car wash and I'm sitting there and I got a message from a client of mine who said, oh look, we're down at the coffee shop. Do you want to come down and catch up for a coffee? And I'm like, oh my God, yes, that sounds perfect. Ties into my procrastination on a Monday morning. I had a really shitty sleep last night. My son had a nightmare and it was just, I don't know, there was something funky in the air last night. So I sat down and I met Jeremy and his wife Kim sitting down having coffee, and we were talking about how lucky we are that we've been able to build businesses where on a Monday morning, if we want to go and sit down and have a coffee, that we can, right? That is outside of the norm, yep. Because I guess like a part of that stuff, like it's what you guys want as well, right? It's that freedom to choose the way that you run your day. Now, don't get me wrong, like that hour or hour and a bit that we've sat down, it was beautiful. It was absolutely glorious. And now I've come home like, right, okay, cool. So, let's get stuck into it. I've got stuff that I need to do. Let's get cracking. But that's really, I think, what we all want. It's that freedom to be able to make the choices that we want to make and live a life that's not ordinary. It's not necessarily within the 9 dots of what everybody else thinks that we should be living. And, you know, if your people want that too, then you've got to have different ways of being able to share that. I hope that makes sense. All right. Now, the other thing that yeah, exactly, Marie. It is about self-care as well. You're right. 100%. The next thing that I've got on my list that I just wanted to share with you as well is if you are going to pay for advertising, then where is it that you're actually driving these people to? Okay. Now, if you're just sending people over to your Facebook page, then it's kind of like throwing a pebble in the ocean, right? It's not really going to do anything. It's not going to really make an impact. So one of the things that I would be looking at doing if I was in your shoes, and, you know, I probably have been, if you're looking at paying for advertising, then you want to be generating a lead off the back of it. Last week, I spoke a lot about landing pages and software and things that you need to do in order to open your doors. But really what you need to be thinking about is how am I going to generate that lead? What is the link that I'm going to incorporate within the call to action that is going to help me to generate a lead, okay? And I mean, the other thing, like if your intention is to increase your following, then, you know, that's great. But as I talked about, I did a big rant on it on Facebook on my personal page and my business profile actually last week. If you don't have a way of monetizing essentially your audience, then it's nice for ego to have a bunch of people following you. But if you don't have an actual strategy in order to be able to leverage that, then you may as well just go and throw your money in the pool or in the ocean or whatever. Like it doesn't actually help your cause if you're not generating a lead off the back of that and then having a way of being able to have a conversation. So do it with intention. All right. That is a lot of information for you on a Monday morning. Now, I can see that there are some people on. Do you guys have any questions about anything? Please make sure you type them in. The big thing, I think, for you to also remember is with your advertising. So with the posts that you put up in your ads, and this is also for the posts that you put up on your pages as well, there are different styles. So you might put up a really short post or a really short ad, and it might only be a few sentences, okay? You can test to see if that will work. Your people might need something that is a lot longer, right? That builds an emotional connection with you and with them, okay? So you've got that. Then you've got the storytelling type ads and posts that you can do. You might talk about a client that you've worked with, or you might talk about where you were and what you did and how you've been able to get to where it is that you are now. It is all testing and measuring, and I'm really sorry that I don't have a magic pill for you to make your advertising work instantly. But it really is about testing and measuring and following the process and using all of these tools that we've been talking about over the past few weeks and today, bringing all of that stuff together and then getting out there and making it happen, okay? The first part though, to making any of your advertising work is make sure that you have that client transformation story written out so that you can pull different paragraphs out and then blend it into a piece of writing that is going to emotionally capture people and create that direct response. Alrighty, so that is us for today. Now, next week, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the S word, sales. So we've been talking a lot about marketing and how to make all of that stuff happen, and that's great. Now what we really need to get you guys, getting happening is actually making money and enrolling clients off the back of everything that we've been talking about. So I'd really love to share with you next week all about the sales process that I use, that I teach my clients. I've been teaching this stuff since 2012. I love it. I love sales training. It's one of the most fun things. And it really, the way that I do it, the way that we teach you guys is really about making sure that you're having a very ethical conversation with people that empowers them to make a decision. And that might sound a little cliche or a little wanky or whatever, but really that's what it is all about. It's consultative selling in a way that you both make a choice and a decision where, you know what, is this the right thing for me or is it not? And that kind of stuff. So I'll share with you guys the process that I use next week. It's going to be great fun. So there you go, guys. Have an amazing Monday. Go get another coffee in you. Go get out there, market the hell out of yourselves, and just keep adding value to your people because they really need to find you. All right. Mwah. Happy Monday. I will see you guys next week.